The sunshine is here. The Lone Star State NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series racing on NBCSN from Texas Motor Speedway. It's the AAA Texas 500. For more of the storylines from today's race, let's go to Kelly Stavist.
Well, Jimmie Johnson starts this race 3 points outside of the championship four, but he's a 7-time winner here at Texas, so it should be easy, right? Not so fast. Crew chief Chad Knaus told me they were, quote, outclassed here in terms of speed. Jimmy's going to have to make up for it with his racecraft. They won from the rear in spring, trying to do it from 9th today, Dave.
Can Kevin Harvick win today? Absolutely he can. Was on the pole here in the spring, led 77 laps before finishing 4th. He starts 3rd today, Marty.
Brad Keselowski and his team have struggled at the last 2 mile-and-a-half racetracks, Dave. They finished 13th and 15th in those races. So today they borrow their teammate Ryan Blaney's setup. We'll see if that equates to more speed for this 2-car. Time's running out to punch your ticket to Miami. So let's get the engines cranked here in Texas.
In the day, the car like Josie and Harvey, AAA service technicians from Ball State, 7 different AAA clubs. Rush the track to help them recovery up. Facing physical conditions, they're able to respond to the thousands of units from the
Represent all their teammates who answered the call. Now they will give the command to get the AAA Texas 500 underway. Drivers,
radio check. Yeah, that sounds good.
A great community effort to get the engines fired a week ago. Tempers right on the edge. Hamlin and Elliott fighting for a win at Martinsville. Both left dejected. Chase Elliott still looking for his first win. The drama continues here in Texas.
This morning we woke up, it was close to 60 degrees. It's dropped down steadily. It's now 44 degrees.
And I'll tell you what, the temperature on the racetrack is about to get red hot.
Oh, Elliott Smith, and he slams the outside retaining wall.
Tempers are flaring. Kyle comes across the line. He wins today, and he's going to Miami.
A playoff race at Texas is
Holy smoke! Woo!
a bit of a wild card.
Well, everything's bigger in Texas, baby. Good win.
I always smile when I see Texas thumbs here.
Martin Truex Jr. once again the cream of the crop.
I think we have what it takes to win it, but it's going to be a challenge.
No question, it will be a challenge today as they will go 500 miles here at Texas Motor Speedway. In front of the field will be the pace car in conjunction with the Junior Appreciation Tour. Chevrolet wanted to do their part and engage the fans by doing a special decal for Dale on the final Chevy pace car of the 2017 season. Chevrolet selected 88 words of appreciation and created a hood decal on the Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 pace car, which paces the field today. And as the car is rolling off of pit road, let's take a look at today's starting grid brought to you by Bank of America. Up front, the pole by Kurt Busch was the fastest lap ever on a 1.5-mile racetrack. So Kurt Busch, the fastest mile-and-a-half ever that was ever turned.
Yeah, row 2, we have Kevin Harvick. This is one of 3 winless tracks for him. And starting next to Eric Jones, who was fastest in practice yesterday. Right behind them, row 3, Kyle Busch. He's already locked into the Final 4. And Daniel Suarez, the rookie.
Well, making up row 4 is Martin Truex Jr. and Ryan Blaney. Martin Truex Jr. trying to continue his historic run at mile-and-a-half tracks. He's won 6 of the 9, but never here at Texas. But back in row 5, 7-time champ Jimmie Johnson will start next to Brad Keselowski. Brad was leading late in that Martinsville race last week, trying to recover. Have a good day here to try to advance in the playoffs.
Yeah, row 6, we see Kyle Larson trying to overcome the disappointment for being knocked out of the playoffs. Getting a win would go a long way from doing that. Starting next to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And behind them, Jamie McMurray and Danica Patrick.
Austin Dillon and A.J. Allmendinger make up row 8. A.J. Allmendinger's trying to stop 3 consecutive races with DNFs.
We have an opportunity to chat with the greatest mile-and-a-half racer in 2017. That's Martin Truex Jr. Let's dial him up on the radio, Jeff.
Hey, Martin, NBCSN booth, you with us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, we have heard a lot about this racetrack and the reconfiguration. Tell us what's the most difficult part about it.
I think the most difficult part, Jeff, is just the two ends being so different. And then again, being so different than it used to be. And also, it's changed a lot since the first race here back in June. So a lot of new things this weekend for us to fight with, deal with, and whoever does the best at figuring all those things out and all those changes will be the best at the end of the day.
Well, Martin, you and your team, y'all been the best on mile and a half. How does this affect you? Do you think this helps you or hurts you?
I think the more unknowns we have, the more tracks change, the more things are different, the better it suits us. I feel like we're good at making changes and getting after it quickly. So we'll just have to wait and see, but I feel good about it.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you letting us ride along. Good luck today.
Yeah, man. Y'all enjoy it up there.
We definitely will, as we will watch how Martin Truex Jr. does in this race. Again, just 3 to go before the end of the season. We're riding along with a few different drivers. The Performance Plus on board of Trevor Bayne. He will start 37th on the field.
Yeah, Dale Jr. in the 88 will carry the nationwide onboard camera today. AJ Allmendinger will have the Kroger Click List onboard camera. I'd like to thank that team. They let me use their pit box yesterday, Jeff. It was great.
That was awesome. Kyle Larson, the Credit One camera. I have a feeling he's going to be coming to the front. And Kevin Harvick in the Ford Performance camera. Very fast race car in practice yesterday. And we're also riding along with Denny Hamlin, the Toyota camera, on the front row.
Not only are we riding along on the cars and around the racetrack, but high above it as well. The aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. And this will be an interesting perspective, especially now that restarts are going to be completely different with the reconfigured turns 1 and 2. And with that, I want to bring back in Dale Jarrett. I know you were busy on the pre-race show and now up here in the booth with me, but Dale, I know that's one of the things that everybody's wondering is what's going to be the start and restarts at Texas Motor Speedway now that turns 1 and 2 are so crazy.
Yeah, Rick, watching and listening to you guys last night on that great coverage, the Xfinity race, I think this is the thing that stands out to me, that this turns 1 and 2 on the start and restart could affect the playoff situation a lot. We see right here, it's just one car, the 22 of Ryan Blaney gets that in. That starts stacking things up right in the middle and the exit of the corner. So we go on board to listen there now. You have to get in the gas, out of the gas to make sure nothing happens. But all of a sudden, somebody changes lane. This is Matt Tiff, who is right in the middle of the racetrack, decides he's got a little momentum, wants to go to the bottom. That creates another situation, unfortunately, for Brandon Jones into the wall. I really believe this is an area of the racetrack that we can see make a big impact here this afternoon.
Something we're going to be keeping our eye on, not only getting into one, but coming off of turn 2. Let's take a look at some Outback curbside takeaways, DJ.
Yeah, we talked about the start and the restart of the race, and those are certainly going to be things we're going to pay attention. Track position all day long. As a driver, you just can't let yourself get too excited when you're not exactly where you want to be, because there's going to be times you're going to be back outside that top 10 just because of different strategies. And the other thing, let's watch Chase Elliott. How does he perform here this afternoon? Big disappointment last week. Disappointment he didn't get to qualify starting way back, so we'll follow his progress.
He'll start 34th. Now, if Kevin Harvick places in the top 10 today, then you get a free Bloomin' Onion with purchase on Bloomin' Monday. And I mentioned earlier, what a gorgeous afternoon. The hottest race ever as far as fall race at Texas Motor Speedway was 91 degrees, and they're closing in on that. 88 degrees today. Sun beating down on this repaved racetrack and reconfigured racetrack. That just means more of a handling issue for these drivers.
Handling issue, and remember back to Charlotte when we even had a very hot, humid day there, how it affected the drivers inside the race car. You can already see it's up over 100 degrees inside that car. I can assure you'll get much more than that. These drivers got to keep themselves hydrated.
Looking forward to 500 miles from Texas. Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin make up row number 1. Green flags in the air. First attempt at 1 and 2, and already up the racetrack they go. It looks like the 4 had to go up the racetrack. There was contact made. A crazy start to this race already. 4 in the 18 moved up the racetrack.
Because there's no grip outside that black area that you see there. That just all of a sudden things start happening, and all it takes is one person to get out of there. We have 2 cars coming to pit road already.
Yep, Brad Keselowski's coming to pit road. He said we have a flat left rear in that, and we knew something might happen to a championship contender today. Flat left rear for Brad Keselowski, Kelly.
And now you see the 18 of Kyle Busch. He's already into the championship 4, but they've got to come and make a tire change too, and they're saying check the right side clearance. So they're pulling out the front, right front side of that car. They've had damage early in this one.
And Kelly, there is damage on the left rear of the 2 car for Brad Keselowski. They said pull out the damage, and they got it out, but a flat left rear tire. They came in plus 29. They talked about how they just could not lose a chunk of points today. This will put Brad Keselowski in an early hole.
And guys, we knew that this was going to be tricky. 1 and 2 on the starts and the restarts. As we see right now, Denny Hamlin trying to check out on the field. But take a look at this, the 18 on the bottom of the racetrack.
This 18 drives to the bottom, trying to carry a lot of speed, gets loose, gets up the racetrack, gets in the side of the 2 car, and, you know, slight contact, but a lot of fender damage on the 18 car, and obviously a cut tire on the 2 of Keselowski.
Real estate, Jeff. Real estate. We talk about that corner 78 feet wide, but they're running in the bottom 15 or 16 feet. So when the 18 slid up, there was nowhere to go. But like you said, Jeff, very odd. As the 2 came by, he caught that fender while Brad Keselowski came, and they kind of put new tires on it. He looks to be okay. We're going to have to watch that 18 car. It looks to me like the entire right front fender is missing.
Yeah, with the new damaged vehicle policy, you can't add anything to it other than tape. So there's going to be a gaping hole on that 18 fender all day long.
Instantly. What is last week's win worth? There you have it. Brad Keselowski, they're going to have to fight back. They're going to have to find points. Rick, for the 18, he knows he's into Miami already.
That's a great point. Coming in, the 18 really was just trying to keep their momentum up. They had won at Martinsville. They were guaranteed into the championship 4. With Texas and Phoenix between them and that race in Miami, they were looking to keep that momentum up, Marty.
And Rick, here's what happened to the left rear of Brad Keselowski. You see the valve stem, the outer valve stem knocked out. Immediately, all the air will go out of that left rear tire. So Keselowski came in plus 29. Right now, he sits minus 20. An early hole for this team. They'll have to rally back and try and figure out how to get back on the lead lap here. But, Steve, that's impossible to recover from when it happens like that, correct?
Well, it's an instant flat. He had to come to pit road, and the action continues. You're riding on board right here with Kyle Larson. The last lap through, he had a major slide as he looked to try to pass the 78, and now you see more cars getting stacked up side by side. Jimmy Johnson and the 1 of Jamie McMurray.
Well, Jimmy Johnson's one to fight to get to the bottom of the racetrack. The top's not so bad in 3 and 4, but in 1 and 2 where there's low grip, everybody's fighting to get to the bottom. Dale, this reminds me of the very first race here at Texas when this place was originally built. Big wreck on the front straightaway, going into turn 1 on lap run. Not a big wreck here today, but with this reconfiguration, a huge challenge for the drivers in turn 1.
Yeah, exactly what I thought of, Jeff, was back to that very first time. Of course, you went on to win that race, but a lot of people had a lot of issues, just like Jimmy Johnson there. And once you get up out of the groove just a little bit, all you can do is kind of give up at that moment, get your car back under control.
He's going to lose a couple spots by going up the racetrack like that. Casey Kane in the 5 is going to go by. Danica Patrick now all over his back bumper, but Jimmy Johnson, who's been so good at this racetrack and won back in April on this new really reconfigured Texas Motor Speedway, just hasn't hit it. They just seem to be missing something as he's fallen all the way back to 14.
Rick, what they've been missing is the handling of this car to where Jimmy could be aggressive. Now, you don't want to, you're having those situations and you go to a racetrack that's been made more difficult because of the repave, the less banking down here in 1 and 2. And that's just the worst case scenario for Jimmy Johnson and this race team.
Jimmy Johnson looking for his 8th championship, but he's got to be inside the top 4. The championship 4 if he wants to fight for that title again this year. Dave.
Rick, the 24 of Chase Elliott's been making his way up from that 34th starting position up to 21st last time I checked. It may be better than that now. And when I rode around the truck in pre-race interviewing Chase, he couldn't get over the color of the racetrack. This was a repave this year, and normally they straight pretty dark, but he couldn't believe how light gray it was. That means a couple of things. One, it's wearing well, but also that it's going to have a competitive nature to it once the rubber starts laying into the track. He's one of the guys that needs that little bit of a second groove to come into play for him so he can keep moving forward.
And on the right side of the screen, you see the battle for the 10th position between Austin Dillon in the 3 and the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Earnhardt Jr. was actually going up into that second groove. You see the Olympic rings on the hood of the 3 of Austin Dillon. Again, under 100 days until the Winter Olympics. It will be a part of the NBC Universal family. The 20 of Kenseth also has a very impressive wrap on it as well.
Watch as we ride along with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Going to show how difficult this racetrack is. So pay attention to the miles per hour. So right here in turn 1, we're going to see a low of 151 miles per hour. All the way off the throttle, all the way back on the gas, DJ. Now in turn 3, we're going to see something completely different.
Yeah, you can see as they got 4 degrees more banking. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a ton to a race driver. And you have that grip that helps you there, that banking that helps you get that grip. You can see much more speed through that. So all that's doing is setting you up for a difficult corner as you go back down into 1. You can see how different it really is. They never get out to the wall, and so all the difference this has made. What they're really needing is to get some rubber in that second group, and then this will become a much more raceable track. But who wants to go up there when there's no grip? You can't take that chance.
And Dale, 20 miles an hour difference between the middle 1 and 2 and middle 3 and 4. That is a huge difference from one end of the corner to the other.
Seems like a racetrack where you've got to worry about 2 different ends of the track. Completely different right now. Denny Hamlin smooth sailing at Texas. You're watching Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Texas Motor Speedway. NASCAR Drive. NASCAR.com's live race day companion, now available on your mobile device. You never have to miss a lap with NASCAR Drive. Visit NASCAR.com/drive from your PC, tablet, or mobile device. Let's go back over to the Stock Car Smarts booth and Steve and Jeff.
So, Jeff, we asked the fans all day long on Twitter, and you can do it during the race. Send your questions to Ask NBC, and we're going to answer them. So the first question we get right here is, hey, Steve and Jeff, will we see this upper groove come in during the race? We've seen already cars out of that groove losing time. Do you think it'll widen out, Jeff?
We may see it widen out by 2 grooves at the most. I can't imagine 4 or 5 grooves. I think that's a couple years away, but you know, I think some of that's good and some of that's bad. These restarts are crazy with everybody battling for the bottom, but we saw Denny Hamlin get the lead on the outside on the initial start. So I think the track's going to be evolving all day long.
And make sure if you have questions that you want Steve and Jeff to look at and potentially answer, just make sure to have hashtag AskNBC through your social media avenue. And we go to Marty.
Hey, Rick, Denny Hamlin comfortably out front. He's led 22 laps today, as you can see on the top of your screen. Obviously, all week long, everyone talked about Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin. Denny told me riding around on the track before the race that he did reach out to Chase Elliott this week. That call was not returned, so clearly there's still some hurt feelings there. I did ask Denny, does it bother you? You were booed in your home state at Martinsville last week. You were booed when you were introduced today here at the Texas Motor Speedway. He said, absolutely not. He said, to be honest with you, I used to be jealous of guys who would get booed because I knew that people were paying attention to them. To me, when people just applaud when you were introduced, you're just another guy. You're nothing special. So, Jeff, what's it like for a driver? I don't know you've ever been booed like that, but to be booed as a driver, what are the emotions you go through? And Denny seemed to kind of like it, actually.
Oh, I think we've all been booed, Marty. It's just, you know, it's part of the deal when you race and you get into an altercation with another driver. That other driver has fans, and they're going to boo you. So that's just part of the deal. I don't think Denny Hamlin, I think deep down Denny Hamlin's not that kind of guy. I think Denny Hamlin wants to be liked. I don't think he wants to be the villain. So for me, this race is so important for Denny to put that behind him and to move forward.
Well, how about the other driver in that issue? The 24 car of Chase Elliott, this 21-year-old, obviously was the guy that was being cheered at Martinsville after Denny Hamlin got into his rear bumper. But Friday, the car looked pretty good in practice. They couldn't get through inspection. They didn't get a chance to qualify. Started 34th, and we haven't updated much because we had so much excitement at the start of the race, but he's currently up in the 15th position. So we saw this out of Ryan Blaney back at Kansas, DJ. We were very vocal how he had to be patient if he was thinking he was going to get into the top 10. Well, with still 60 laps to go in stage 1, I think this 24 car is looking really good to perhaps get all the way up and score some of those very valuable stage points.
And Steve, the guy that the 24 driver is, Chase Elliott, his crew chief already believes is the one that Jeff Burton believes that Denny Hamlin is. Does that make sense? When I talked to Alan Gustafson about it today, he said Martinsville was just normal stuff. They were just racing. And even though it was a sensational finish, Chase stood up for himself, and he needed to do that. He is a good and fair person, and people know that who watch this sport. He didn't win, but people recognize his integrity.
I tell you what, he has definitely been the one on the move. Let's see who is on the move. Brought to you by Chevrolet. Matt Kenseth and Chase Elliott, both starting back 33rd and 32nd, have made the biggest moves. Kenseth is up 21 positions already into 12th, and Chase Elliott up 17 spots to 15th. So important that Chase Elliott gets stage points. At the end of stage 1 and the end of stage 2, there will be points given to the top 10. And right now, Chase Elliott needs those points, but he's currently running 15th, just in front of Jimmy Johnson, who's fallen out of the top 10. He started 9th.
Well, Rick, you know, Chase Elliott needs points. A car that needs a good run, the 20 of Matt Kenseth. Jeff, we knew from in July when Matt Kenseth announced, hey, I won't be back at Joe Gibbs Racing, we've kind of been asking the question, you know, what is he going to do in 2018? And then Nate Ryan wrote the story just this weekend. He sat down with Matt Kenseth, and he kind of let everybody know, like, hey, look, I have no plans for the Daytona 500 in 2018. I don't see me starting the season in a car. He didn't rule out ever driving again, but it was very clear that there is not a seat for him to start the season in 2018.
Yeah, clearly for Matt Kenseth, a champion, a guy that, you know, made the playoffs, a guy that, you know, most people in the garage feel can still win races. A very frustrating situation for him. He still wants to race. He just doesn't see a good opportunity, and Matt Kenseth is not the kind of guy that's going to sit in equipment that cannot compete at a high level.
It's been a long time since he's been to victory lane. 50 race winless streak for the 20 and Matt Kenseth. That was all the way back in New Hampshire back in July of 2016. Kelly?
Well, Rick, as you said a moment ago, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson's been going the wrong way after starting 9th. They've dropped back to 16th, and Jimmy just saying that he's just been too tight, especially off of 2. He's been moving that track bar up. Chad Knaus just told him, hey, sounds like the most grip is down there by that white line. See if you can run down there and try that out for a few laps. You see Jimmy doing it there, but Jimmy said he has not been able to put any shape into his turns. They're moving the wrong way.
Out in front, it's Denny Hamlin. He's led all 31 laps that have been run, and I'm sure the boos will be music to his ears if he can get to victory lane, because he'll be a part of the championship 4. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Nationwide. Nationwide is on your side. Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of NASCAR. And by Chevrolet, the most awarded car company 2 years in a row. Denny Hamlin still out front, but it was Kurt Busch who closed the gap, got all the way to his back bumper, and then fell back. Now to 4th, Eric Jones, Kyle Larson, Kurt Busch, and Kevin Harvick all in the top 5. Dave.
And Rick, you see them going around or trying to get around the 27 car of Paul Menard. Paul's wife, Jennifer, gave birth to their second child this week, and Paul stayed home for most of that and seeing them through to this weekend. Daniel Hemrick, a rookie, qualified the race car in 21st, but because they made the driver change back to Menard, he had to go to the rear of the field. And as you see, they get oh so close here through turns 1 and 2. Menard gets lapped early because he had to start so far back.
Well, Jeff, this racing is unreal. Last time by, we had 5 cars, 1st through 5th, all within 1 second. And we're 38 laps in at a 1.5 mile track.
Well, sitting there watching these cars, I mean, you can see how edgy they are and how difficult they are to drive. And, you know, the 77 car thought he was on the bottom of the racetrack and thought he was where the grip was, but the 42, Kyle Larson, said, nope, it's further, it's lower. Kyle Larson, left side tires on that white line. And I think that's what you're going to see. I think that's where the grip is. If you miss that mark by inches, it costs you tons of speed, Kelly.
Yeah, Eric Jones had been running in the 2nd position much of this race, but just moments ago he said he just got no grip. He said it's hot and slick and especially bad in traffic. This is a team that's looking for a good weekend. Eric Jones won the Xfinity Series last night, but this team has had back-to-back DNF finishes, which his crew chief Chris Dale has told me it's just been a result of Eric trying too hard. Sometimes he tries to overcome mistakes that they make on the pit box or on pit road and tries to push things was too hard, so they're just trying to get him settled in and know he doesn't have to do anything extra special here today.
And use the word settled in. I think drivers are trying to still figure out what their cars are going to do on a long run. Nobody actually goes out in practice and runs 40 laps, 50 laps in practice. So they're learning right now what it's like to go 41 laps on this reconfigured racetrack and repaved racetrack. They were here in April, but the track has changed quite a bit because we saw a new track record over 200 and, well, almost 201 mile an hour for Kurt Busch. As we see now, the gap between first and second closing. Denny Hamlin and the 42 of Kyle Larson, who's moved up into second.
Well, Jeff, you talk about how important the absolute bottom of the racetrack was. Well, look at Kurt Busch. What did he miss to the yellow or the white line by? 2 feet? And instantly you see how much time he loses to the 77 on corner exit, right, Jeff? I mean, look right here. Here's another shot of it. A foot off the white line. That's a foot too far. You cannot come off the bottom.
And the reason he missed it was he's just trying to carry a little bit too much speed into turn one, and the car just wouldn't turn. But as we watch this battle with Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin, watch the differences. Now, we're only talking about inches, but watch where the 11 car is on the racetrack versus the 42 compared to the left side line on the bottom of the racetrack. That time, the 11 car, that's the lowest the 11 car has been in the last 10, 15 laps. Kyle Larson has started gaining on him by being on that very bottom. The 11 saw it, and he went to the very bottom.
Yeah, 150 miles an hour, about 200 feet per second, and these guys are trying to not miss the white line by inches.
So, Dale, I say it all the time. This is where everybody thinks if you need to go faster, you just drive harder. In many cases, it's being more disciplined, actually not driving as hard. And that's what Kyle Larson's doing. He's being precise in where he puts his race car.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Jeff. It's that interesting perspective right here. Watching these cars go into turn one. I know you guys are seeing coming out of four, all the speed that they're carrying, but to watch them back out so early and they're not arcing at all going down into turn one, just so they make sure, just as Kyle Larson's doing, keeping those left side tires down that white line where you can get this great run, try to take the lead. Here's the man that I'm looking at that could affect this whole playoff thing here this afternoon by going out here and winning this race, and then everybody's still trying to gather as many points as they possibly can. But it's very interesting. Somebody that we think about hard charging, driving off in the corner all the time. Here's Kyle Larson thinking his way around this racetrack very well.
And guys, Denny Hamlin using these lap cars as best he can as a pick to try and keep Kyle Larson behind him. But they're also hurting Denny Hamlin as well, because in this lap traffic, he says the car is extremely loose, and Larson looking at the inside there trying to get a lead from Denny Hamlin.
Well, look who's in the player, or in the picture. If you look behind the 42, you see this white car of Kevin Harvick right here showing up. And Jeff, you talked about this in practice. This turns 1 and 2 reminded us a little bit like Atlanta, where Kevin Harvick is so successful running on the bottom.
And watch Kevin Harvick, what he's going to try to do. Denny Hamlin missed the line that time. Kyle Larson's going to take advantage of it.
Easily takes the lead away from Denny Hamlin, the 42 of Kyle Larson, now up front at Texas. Kelly.
Yeah, and I doubt the team is surprised. Crew Chief Chad Johnston was very confident when I spoke to him before the race. He said they were really happy with the car, both in terms of short run speed, but they also did a 30-lap run in the final practice yesterday and felt like they had better speed than any other car out on track. Obviously, after the heartbreak of getting knocked out of the playoffs after a blown engine a couple of weeks ago, this team has got nothing left to do but just go for victory lane.
Yeah, it's really impressive to watch him and do this. And we think about Larson on the high line all the time, and now he is right around the bottom. But, Jeff, my question to you is about this 4 of Kevin Harvick. This is starting to remind me so much of Atlanta Motor Speedway, how he hooks that left front down on that white line.
Yeah, that's right, and that's what Kevin is really good at. If you watch Kevin Harvick in a lot of racetracks, he turns earlier than other people, gets that car on the white line, commits to it, and then keeps it there all the way around the corner.
Larson up front in the AAA Texas 500.
Pit stops under green at Texas Motor Speedway. Kevin Harvick gives up second place. He gets a wedge adjustment and 4 fresh Goodyear tires and a Lotus Sunoco fuel. The car needed a little bit of turn, Marty.
Denny Hamlin lost the lead. He said, I have no help out here. You see the wedge adjustment trying to tighten up that 11 car, and he had to go around the 41 of Kurt Busch. It's going to cost him some time here on pit road. We'll see if these new tires help. The first car to come to pit road, though, was Martin Truex Jr. Brad Keselowski coming down pit road. He was in danger of going down 2 laps. He said he's loose on the entry to 1, tight going off to the corner of 2. So 4 Goodyear tires, and you see that wedge adjustment trying to help the handling of the 2 car who had that flat tire on lap 1.
So here's the 42 car coming down pit road, and the 4 car pitted a lap earlier, but the 4 car is stuck in traffic, having a tough time getting through this traffic right now. He drives into turn 1, see Kyle Larson on the apron trying to get up to speed. Kyle Larson's going to easily beat him off the racetrack, but I think a lot of that had to do with the 4 car working around slower traffic where Larson did not have any slower traffic to deal with.
And you can see even Martin Truex there has caught up to Kevin Harvick. He was quite a ways back, so pitting a little bit early helped him. Dave?
Knifing his way through traffic, Chase Elliott now gets 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel and a chassis adjustment for his race car, and he is gone.
Under 13 seconds, that stop for Chase Elliott, the 24 team. And now as these green flag pit stops cycle through, only Michael McDowell and Ryan Newman are still out on the track. Landon Castle also will be coming to pit road. Those cars making their stops now. But Kevin Harvick trying to chase down Kyle Larson. The only problem is Martin Truex Jr. is all over his back bumper. So keeping his eyes forward, but at the same time looking in the mirror to make sure that Martin Truex Jr. doesn't get a run on him.
No, here's something that's always a little bit of a chance. Being that first one on pit road under green flag stops, yeah, you're taking a little bit of a chance that something should happen. But in Martin Truex's case, he was able to get back out on the racetrack. Others then started hitting pit road in large groups. He's not really having to pass people. He's utilizing his good tires for 2 or 3 laps when there's not as many cars on the racetrack.
And when he came to pit road, he was 4.1 seconds behind the race leader, running in the 6th position. But right now, when everything cycles through, he'll end up being 3rd behind Larson and Harvick, and only about 2 seconds behind.
Well, we see Michael McDowell. He is not pitted yet. He's leading the race. Ryan Newman also hasn't pitted. He's running 2nd. But, you know, we see this 95 car, Steve. We see them popping up in practice. They qualify well. They run well. They're not one of the bigger teams, but for this team, the size they are, they put great effort into it, and they do a really good job.
Yeah, their commitment for next year, Casey Kane will be driving this race car, and they've announced Travis Mack, who is currently the car chief for Dale Earnhardt Jr., will be moving over to the 95 and be the crew chief. I saw him in the garage yesterday. Very excited because of the commitment that you pointed out. He said, you know, they're considered a smaller team, but the ownership very committed to try to move this program forward.
And some may ask, why would a team like this stay out on the racetrack? Why don't they pit like everybody else? Well, if they catch a caution right now, they've got a big advantage. They'll be on the lead lap. This could change their entire race. So it's really worth the gamble for a team like the 95.
And we just saw the 2 of Brad Keselowski go by. I want to listen in on some spotter communication from this team.
Some of the leaders are using that 30% lane to pass traffic, but, you know, they're not crazy stupid loose. But they're okay up there if you have to get there.
That was spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less. When the 2 went by the 95 of Michael McDowell, he took a lap away from. He was 2 laps down. Now he's only 1 lap down, but still mired back in the 31st position, having to come to pit road so early. Marty?
And Steve, he is the last car 1 lap down, as other cars will go 1 lap down as we cycle through here. But obviously a tough break for this team. Flat tire, lap 1. So, Steve, I want to know from you, how do you manage the race here if you're Paul Wolfe? A moment ago, they were close to going down 2 laps on the racetrack. That's a game changer. Now they're 1 lap down. At least you're in the ball game. So if you're Paul Wolfe, what would you do, Steve, to manage the race here, knowing you've got to gain some points today here at Texas?
Well, I think it comes down to what type of risk you're willing to take. We know in 24 laps, we're going to see the end of stage 1. That's a guaranteed yellow. Brad Keselowski will still have about a half a tank of fuel on board. Perhaps he could stay out and get the wave around. We saw Cole Custer do that yesterday in the Xfinity race, but this race is much longer. Remember, 272 still to go, Bert. This is truly a marathon, and Paul Wolfe, Brad Keselowski, 2 of the smartest when it comes to strategy, being creative. They're going to have to be creative to get these laps back.
Would you say that the guy that's pulling the hardest for this team to catch a break is the crew chief on the 22, Todd Gordon? After last week, you know, he had an opportunity to pit when the 22 car had a tire rub. He did not pit. Ultimately, that caused a caution, and the 24 got by the 2, and they did not win that race when it looked like the race was in hand. So, you know, Todd Gordon stood up and said, hey, that was my fault. I should have pitted. A lot of pressure on Todd. He's hoping that works out.
We talk about pressure on the crew chief. The 11 of Denny Hamlin we see right here. Well, his crew chief, Mike Wheeler, decided after qualifying second to take pit stall 2, which is behind the 41. Well, look at this right here. Look what it cost the 11 of Denny Hamlin. He had the second choice. He could have picked openings up and down pit road. He did not. He took pit stall 2. The 41 was in his stall as the pole sitter. He came to pit road in third, about 1 second out of the lead. Currently in fourth, a little over a second and a half. So, Marty, that decision definitely cost the 11 some.
Yeah, no doubt. They initially had lost 3 seconds in that exchange, just trying to wait there a little bit for the 41. So, Steve, if you're, Mike Wheeler, what do? You go have a conversation with Tony Gibson, say, hey, can we work together a little bit more? You pit further forward in your box. I'll pit further back in my box to make sure that doesn't happen again. And that's the cooperation you have on pit road. But again, that's a disadvantage. You had the opportunity to pick any pit stall on pit road. You chose pit stall 2, not an opening. So, yes, it is an advantage getting off of pit road, but you got to work with your neighbor to make sure it all works out okay.
Well, let me be honest, Jeff. If I felt like someone picked next to me when it wasn't necessary, I didn't work with my neighbor. I made it a point to say, no, don't come over here. Don't ask for a deal. I sat on the pole. My car was the fastest. We took pit stall 1. Why do you think I'm going to help you? You could have been farther down pit road.
I know why we get along so well now. That's exactly what I was thinking. I sat on the pole and you picked next to me. This is your fault, not mine.
Yeah, not to mention that that Kurt Busch's teammate, Kevin Harvick, is still in the chase. So that's a lot of, or in the playoffs, that's still a lot of things going on and things to take into consideration. As you said, they had that choice. So Kurt Busch could stop short all day long and make life miserable for that 11 car.
Denny Hamlin, when he left pit road, he stuck his left hand out the window. Kind of one of those, didn't appreciate the way that you kind of blocked me into my pit stall, but still, Denny Hamlin running in the 4th position. Kurt Busch is behind him running 5th. Steve, I do have one question for you. Would anyone consider not coming to pit road at the end of stage 1?
Well, I think they're going to have enough laps on their tires that perhaps they probably think right sides are going to be necessary, as we have Jimmy Johnson on pit road. Kelly?
The start of this race not going well for this 48 team. After the last time down pit road, Jimmy Johnson said that he had a little bit of a tire rub, and then just moments ago reporting about a vibration, a small vibration at first. Chad just told him to hang on till the stage ends, but obviously it got bad enough they decided to bring the 48 to pit road for 4 new Goodyear tires.
That's unfortunate for the 48. We're going to have to see if he can dig himself out. But, Rick, to answer your question, with these other playoff cars, Brad Keselowski, Jimmy Johnson having trouble, I think I'd be on pit road at the end of stage 1. Play this a little conservative.
Out front now, a new leader in Texas. It's the 4 of Kevin Harvick. And this is how he got the lead. He was going by the 42 of Kyle Larson.
And the 42 missed his marks in 1 and 2. Just was not on the bottom of the racetrack, Steve. You said it. If you miss it by a foot, you may as well miss it by a mile, and that's what happened to 42, the 4 car. Dale Jarrett, you talked about how disciplined he is at Atlanta, and he's driving this racetrack exactly like he does there. Kelly.
Jeff, while we were in break, we saw the 18 of Kyle Busch come to pit road for the first time since he came after that contact on the first lap. He said the 18 has gotten tight at the end of the run. You can still see the big hole in the right front fender when he came to pit road. Kyle Busch now back down 2 laps down right now.
And if you remember, Kyle Busch struggled at Charlotte when they had all the damage to the car. He actually fell out of the car. Well, look at how hot it is here today. Right now, 91 degrees. It's the hottest race ever at Texas. And at 91 degrees, it's pretty warm for the fans and everyone watching. But how about when you go inside of one of these cars, like the 47 of A.J. Allmendinger? Take a look at what the temperature is now. Over 120 degrees inside the car.
Yeah, and that's up top there where some air is moving around. You get down around the driver's legs and your feet where all of that heat is coming up right there. It gets very, very difficult inside these cars. We saw back at Charlotte a number of drivers get out needing fluids and exhausted after that race. So it's a tough job, especially you're at a racetrack that you're having to work extremely hard. You're very tense. So all of these things come into play, Jeff.
Yeah, it's a very hot day, and anything you can do to get a little bit of air in that race car, but you don't want to hurt the performance of your car. That's why drivers got to be in shape. Teams are like, you know what, driver? That's your job. We need to make this car aerodynamically as efficient as possible. You may not get as much air in there as you want. Coming from behind, we talked about Chase Elliott. He was, didn't get a chance to qualify on Friday. Had to start in the back. He has worked himself up to 12th, but Right ahead of him is 10th place, a point in the first stage. So he is only just under a second away from getting into that 10th spot.
Marty.
Rick, 6 to go here in stage 1. It's a race against time for Brad Keselowski. He's almost about to go 2 laps down to Kevin Harvick. Listen to the frustration on the radio.
Anyhow, Joey, I got to get by her now. She's trying to leave lap as well. I've already talked.
And that's him referencing Danica Patrick. He knows the 4 is closing in on him. If he goes 2 laps down, Dave, that's a game changer for the 2.
Marty, we showed the ambient temperatures. We showed the temperatures inside the 47 car. I asked Rodney Childers about his driver, Kevin Harvick, who finished 4th here and led 77 laps in April, which was also a very hot day. He said he was fine after that race. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen him worn out after a race. Kevin's going to need all that and more this afternoon. Jeff Burton, they even haven't had a break yet. Coming down pit road under green, the stage break will be the first one.
Yeah, that is going to be the first one, and under this caution, it gives you a little bit of chance to catch your breath a little bit, but you can't relax because you've got to do everything right when you come down pit road. So when the caution falls, yes, the driver can catch his breath, take a deep breath, but refocus. Everything on pit road has to be perfect.
Under 4 laps to go. Remaining in stage 1, it has been green ever since the initial flag coming out, and so that's 81 laps, now 82 laps that have been run under green flag conditions. And when you say no break, no breaks. These drivers are up on the wheel trying to make sure they don't lose position, trying to take positions away. Even when they're on pit road, they're still working. There's no time for them to even really take a breath. And so it's been a long first stage, and these drivers, I'm sure, are anticipating and looking forward to this first stage break.
Yeah, just to get a little opportunity, because you talk about trying to keep yourself hydrated. You don't even have time on that pit stop to get something to drink, because you've got to pay attention to everything going on. Just interesting how this first stage is played out, with the 78 being that first one on pit road, how that's benefited him. Right here he is right now trying to take this lead away from Kevin Harvick. And as we saw, the 24 car of Chase Elliott driving his way all the way almost to the top 10, just not quite there yet.
Yeah, DJ, he just got by Daniel Suarez for that 11th spot. Just got by Casey Kane for the 11th spot. Right ahead of him is Daniel Suarez. So with just under a lap left, he has a little bit of an opportunity to get this last spot.
Kevin Harvick has never won on 3 racetracks that they currently run on, one of them being Texas Motor Speedway. So this could be the first step towards Kevin Harvick changing that statistic, but right behind him, one of the best ever on 1.5 mile tracks. He's averaged 2.8 as far as finishing position, Martin Truex Jr., but in stage 1, it's Kevin Harvick that will win at Texas. Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson and Kurt Busch top 5, then Eric Jones, Matt Kenseth, Ryan Blaney, Austin Dillon, and Daniel Suarez keeping the 24 out of the top 10.
But what a good drive by Chase Elliott to get himself to 11th. He did not earn any stage points in this first stage, but now he is in position to get very good stage points in the second one.
Kevin Harvick, that's the 6th time that he has won a stage in 2017, but again has not won at Texas Motor Speedway. Today's aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. As we see the cars getting ready to come to pit road after the end of stage 1, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., and Denny Hamlin, the top 3. Dave.
Nice stage win for Kevin Harvick. He'll bring the 4 car down. He'll get 4 Goodyear tires. He'll get Sunoco fuel to fill it up. What he needs is just a little bit more turn when he gets in the corner. He needs that car to be able to bite the bottom line just a little bit better. Marty?
Martin Truex Jr. was catching Kevin Harvick towards the end of that run. He said he's still fighting the front of the car, meaning it's a little bit too tight. But he said if I hit it just right, then I get free off of the corner. Cole Byrne going with a wedge adjustment, also an air pressure adjustment here. He also said I need a water. Extremely hot out here. Denny Hamlin said actually was much better than when we were leading. A little bit better into turn 1, a little bit too tight off the throttle, and looks like Kevin Harvick wins that race off pit road. Actually, it's Denny Hamlin, Rick.
Yeah, the race off pit road brought to you by NASCAR Heat 2 video game, and Hamlin, this is how close it was. Denny Hamlin by about a foot over Kevin Harvick. There's a deep love for this state. pretty close to Texas Motor Speedway, Fort Worth, Texas. And let's go down to Toyota Camry on-track car and Otto Bolden.
Yeah, Rick, I was born in the tropics, but I can tell you, I can vouch for the temperature in here. It is ridiculous. The other thing that you can't see when you see these onboard cameras is how tight the confines are in here. My first ride along with Jeff Burton last year, I felt like if I never did that again, it'd be too soon. And driving yesterday even, you get a sense of just how tight it is for these drivers. Remember, I don't even have on my helmet. So these guys are making a lot of what is very uncomfortable look very, very easy.
Should I take that as a compliment?
Yes, you should.
He didn't ever want to get in the car with you again, is what I heard.
And we're going to bring some space heaters down to blow inside there, too, to help you out to really feel it.
You know, what's interesting is that, you know, you have drivers, so many different drivers with so many different likes and dislikes. And if you look at drivers, look how close the steering wheel is to some of them. It's further away than others. Some, you know, really like their heads down inside the head surround. Others like it kind of out of it. Just, you know, it's no right or no wrong. It's just whatever's comfortable.
Yeah, and most of the time you see the drivers get a little close. You don't want your arms extended too much, especially in a long 500-mile race. You start losing some of your feel in that way. I always like my steering wheel as low as I could get it to, where I could kind of see the top of my hands. But you have someone like Jimmy Johnson, he likes his up a little bit higher. We're not showing him here right now, but I've just noticed Jimmy a lot of times up a little bit higher. So it's just driver preference. However you make it go the fastest.
Jimmy seemed to make that work pretty well.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Over the years, yes, you would say that has worked out well for the 48 and Jimmy Johnson. The field approaching the Geico restart zone. Up front, it's Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick. Hamlin has chosen the outside line. Harvick on the inside. Hamlin with a great restart. Behind him on that outside line, the 22 of Joey Logano trying to make that second line work as Kenseth goes up the racetrack just a bit in the 20.
That 22 of Joey Logano changed right side tires right there. Remember, he, much like Chase Elliott and Matt Kenseth, had to start near the back of the field.
Here comes the 4 of Harvick. And way up the racetrack goes the 11 of Denny Hamlin. He's going to be able to keep it off the wall, but got out of the groove, and now he'll lose probably 6 or 7 spots at least.
Yeah, huge penalty whenever you do that. Just driving it a little too hard on that first lap.
Here and feathering the throttle to get back into line. And problem 2, the 19 of Suarez goes up the racetrack. Holds the brakes. Casey Kane in the 5 also spinning. See some debris flying out of one of the cars out there as they exited 2. We ride along with the bat cam. Everyone's slowing down. This just the second caution of the day.
Now, that's the reason right there that I thought that the 2 car might have taken the wave around. The best chance here today is we had a number of cars, Kyle Busch being one of them, that got back to just 1 lap down, and he's still going to be that, but he got one of those laps back. But the best chance for cautions are going to be on these restarts today.
But he was the first car a lap down right here, so he should get his lap back.
True.
We're looking at the 19 of Suarez.
We talked about it. Real estate, right? The 19 goes into the corner, misses the bottom. We've seen cars do it all day long. Well, Daniel Suarez does it with the 5 of Casey Kane on the outside. He goes up the racetrack, makes contact with the 5, spins the 5 round. Casey Kane was doing nothing wrong. He was just trying to gather it up, running the second groove. It's a mistake by Daniel Suarez, but not a very hard one to make. We've seen a lot of drivers overdrive the bottom, and that's what he just did.
But, you know, when these things happen, it's an opportunity. So you mentioned, you know, the 2 car, he stayed out, he pitted. And he was the first car lap down, so he's going to get his lap back. But the 48 was on pit road. He pitted. He could have taken the wave around, and he didn't take it. So he did not he did not take advantage of that, and he's still 2 laps down.
I know we were asking that. Why would Chad Knaus not take the wave around? Man, decisions. We talk about the decisions. It's early in the race, but he decided to pit that time, Kelly.
Yeah, and I can't give you the answer why they decided to pit, but here was some radio from Chad Knaus to Jimmy Johnson.
So we're 2 laps down. It's going to be a tough one to get back from. Right there, we're running about 0.8 of a second slower than the leaders. 10 laps, 15 lap pressure tires.
So not exactly optimistic. Chad Knaus just told Jimmy before that last restart, we're not really racing anyone, just trying to survive and get a pass around, Marty.
And Kelly, you saw top of your screen a moment ago, the official word, Brad Keselowski is the free pass. He's going around here when they are able to. They're going to come to pit road here, and you could audibly hear Brad over the radio, the relief in his voice just to say, oh man, now we're back in the ball game, Kelly.
And you see once again, this is the 18 of Kyle Busch on pit road. Not exactly sure what's going on with this. Going to be honest, they see the wrench going in the right rear of the car, or the left rear of the car, but they're still assessing that damage there that happened on the first lap of this race. Looks like they're taking some time to fix some things up during this caution.
We knew that starts and restarts were going to be very interesting because of the reconfiguration of Texas Motor Speedway. It caught the 18 on the very start of the race. That's the damage that they're working on right now. And most recently, we saw Suarez and Casey Kane fighting for that real estate in 1 and 2. It didn't work out well for either of them.
Well, welcome back to Texas. We are in the What Why booth over here. We're going to talk a little bit about the 48 car and their decision not to stay out on the racetrack.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson, he had some issues early, had to pit under green, ended up going 2 laps down, and we all thought for sure he would stay out and take the wave around. He only had 5 laps on his tires, 5 laps on his fuel, so we thought he would have stayed out. As we mentioned, came in under green. That cost him an extra lap, but then decided to pit under yellow. I just think that's a bad decision, Jeff. I think that the 48 right here should have stayed on the racetrack, should have took the wave around. And we talk about the simple fact of, you know, Chad Knaus, while he's spectacular at setting up a race car and spectacular at calling a race, doesn't have a lot of experience of running 2 laps down with a mediocre race car. We heard that radio, just doesn't have a lot of speed. That's something that I think this team's going to have to get better at and adapt at. It's a different type of racing when you're back there mid-pack and losing laps.
2 laps down is very difficult to overcome, so you're going to have to gamble at some point. But I think the willingness to gamble becomes much easier when you understand your car is off on speed. So 8/10 off, that's a lot. I mean, it's a long way to go. So you had an opportunity right there to take a little bit of a gamble. It wasn't a huge gamble. You were going to have to pit again in this second stage anyway. Just did not take advantage of an opportunity.
Yeah, missed opportunity, but still a lot of racing left. We'll see what the 48 can do to try to get back at least to 1 lap down, Rick.
Very uncharacteristic to see 7-time champion and 7-time winner struggling at this racetrack. Well, it is playoff time, so gear up with a pit crew. Get the latest NASCAR t-shirts, hats, and die casts at the NASCAR shop. All you have to do is visit NASCAR.com/shop today for all your favorite drivers' gear. And let's listen in to Kevin Harvick's radio.
What lane you thinking here, Timmy?
Bottom. You get someone roughs you up a little bit, you go back 20 spots. Is my thought process, just like the 11 there.
So you heard Kevin Harvick. Tim Fedewa is his spotter. They were talking about which lane to choose. And so the 4 of Kevin Harvick has chosen the inside lane. That'll put Kyle Larson on the outside as they go into a very difficult turns 1 and 2. Field approaching the Geico restart zone. 73, now 72 laps to go in stage 2. Green flag back in the air. Great restart for Kyle Larson. Look at him trying to take the lead away on the outside as they come out of turn 2.
You can see the great run. He got through the center of the corner, but just couldn't maintain that speed. Now Harvick has him in a difficult spot. Larson not giving up. Wow.
He charges into 3, and Kyle Larson takes the lead away from Harvick. Now we'll see what Larson does as he comes into 1. Will he dive down to the bottom of the track to hold on to that position?
I think it's important to remember that Kyle Larson doesn't have a whole lot to lose right here. Kyle Larson can drive that thing in the corner. If it doesn't stick, he's out of the playoffs anyway. He's willing to take some gambles that perhaps some of these playoff guys aren't.
Martin Truex Jr. trying to get by Austin Dillon in the 3.
I think there might have been a little contact down in 1 and 2 between those. Shot Truex up the racetrack a little bit.
Riding along with Denny Hamlin, Toyota on board. Hamlin currently running in the 8th spot. We saw him fall all the way back when he missed the groove, got up into the light gray of the racetrack. And really, when the caution came out, it almost saved him because he was falling back quickly. and then the caution came out, so he settled down in about the 8th position.
Yeah, that was a blessing for him, too, because he had stuff all over his tires from being up there. You could see he was still losing spots at that point in time, but now he's settled in. So I'm not sure that there's a definitive place to restart this from the outside or the inside yet, but the one thing you still have to do, I don't care which one you take, you still have to hit your marks, because if you miss them just a little bit, go up the track, you're going to find yourself in a bad spot.
Well, these restarts are going to be interesting. That's going to continue. And then when you put Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott together, after what happened last week, things always seem to get a little more intense. So you see the 24 car way loose, trying to stay on the bottom of the racetrack, but Denny Hamlin just stuck his nose in there and took that spot.
Well, and Denny Hamlin told Marty Snyder riding around pre-race that he's going to race Chase Elliott like everyone else on the racetrack. He didn't love what happened last week, but he can't go back and he can't change it, and he's going to race him the same as every other driver.
And that's all you can do, really. I mean, if you know the guy's really mad at you and he's clearly faster than you, yeah, maybe let him go. But other than that, you just got to race as hard as you can race.
Again, we talk about what happened last week between Hamlin and Elliott. Chase Elliott in the 24 leading the race at Martinsville. And Denny Hamlin gets into the back of him, lifts the back end up off the ground. They have words after the race. Chase Elliott spoke out, and the crowd actually responded. The fans in Virginia booed a Virginia native in Denny Hamlin. Marty.
Yeah, Rick, I asked Denny about that. He said, why would I change my driving style? I'm going to race for my team. I have 2 shots left to get us to Miami to race for a championship. That's all I can worry about. One interesting thing, we saw Denny shoot up the racetrack earlier when he was in the lead. He said when he's in traffic, the car is extremely loose. When it's out front, though, it is much better. So he's fighting a loose race car back behind these other cars, Dave.
Marty, just reviewing the day so far for Chase Elliott. Started way back in the field because his car didn't pass pre-qualifying inspection, never got to take a lap, so had to start near the rear of the field, then working his way up. And that green flag stop where they made a significant adjustment on his 24, that is what has made the 24 a winnable race car today. He said that helped a lot. Let's keep going that direction.
You really have to keep your eye on these two, because you know what happened a week ago between Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin. Now with Elliott behind the 11 of Denny Hamlin, how aggressive will he be trying to get by him?
Well, he's going to do everything he possibly can, and he can make Denny Hamlin's life miserable by never even touching him. Just by the fact that Denny knows that he's back there. As a driver, you're just instinctively going to look in that mirror a little bit more because you know he is there. And Chase could get him up the racetrack by never even touching the back end of that car. But you never know. He might be thinking, if I can get to that back bumper, it won't be a crash. I might just let him know that I'm here, though.
Right.
Just the subtle things.
Dave.
What a nice run today for the 21 of Ryan Blaney. And that chassis is being used for the first time, but it's in a generation that the company is very proud of. In fact, its sister car ran at Kansas and ran so well there, they're saving that for Miami. And you know why. Just in case. They expect him to be there.
Well, he's continued to prove that he's capable of being there. We keep thinking, hey, this young driver, is the moment too big for him? But he keeps stepping up to the plate and answering the call. So, you know, listen, with the speed that this team has and the maturity that Ryan Blaney has shown, I think that, you know, I'm not saying they're favorites, Steve, but they clearly have a shot going to Miami.
Blaney, 23 years old, from High Point, North Carolina. He's currently running inside the top 5, just outside of that top 5. And 8th is Denny Hamlin, chasing after Martin Truex Jr. Denny Hamlin riding around the track with the 24 of Chase Elliott right behind him. It's got to be on the back of his mind. What would Chase Elliott do if he does get to my bumper? There are the spotters. The spotter coverage is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road. Spotting for this, the AAA Texas 500. 56 laps still to go in stage 2, and 219 to go in this race. Out in front, it's still Kyle Larson. Let's go through the field. Kelly.
And maybe a little redemption on the line for Kyle Larson. They felt like they should have won the race here in the spring. They had to start from the rear. After missing qualifying, they worked their way all to the front, only to have a pit road penalty. back to the back and had to work their way up. They ultimately finished second to Jimmy Johnson, but felt like they had the car to beat. And once again today, showing they might have the car to beat again here in Texas.
Kelly, good to remember that Kevin Harvick came in just above the cut line to get to the finals in Miami, but he's having a good day today. And don't forget, next week is an even better track for him, Phoenix, where he's won multiple times, Marty.
Dave, how about this run for Joey Logano? Yes, the same Joey Logano that started 34th this afternoon. He is up in the 3rd position. He told me earlier this week, we're motivated to make our cars better for next season. That's our focus, because he told me, I can promise you, I don't want this feeling of being out of the playoffs again next year, Dave.
21 of Ryan Blaney right behind him. And he had a laundry list of things he wanted Jeremy Bones to try and fix when he came down pit road this last time. A wedge and air pressure adjustment had gotten this 21 a little more manageable.
Kurt Busch started first. He is in 5th right now, and he says the car's been just a little bit too tight for him. Still working on his contract to be in this 41 next year. But remember, on NASCAR America a couple weeks ago, he told us he expects to be back in the 41. He hopes that deal is wrapped up in the next few weeks, Kelly.
Great run going for Austin Dillon. This team is unloaded fast from the get-go here. Crew Chief Justin Alexander telling me that Austin has really adapted to this reconfiguration well. They were knocked out of the playoffs early. They're still going for top 5 in points. So still a lot on the line for this 3-car, Marty.
Martin Truex Jr. in 7th, trying to stay undefeated at the mile-and-a-half here in the playoffs in 2017. He said the car seems like it's on the splitter at times, meaning it's too tight. He also said he gets loose when he's behind another car, like he is Austin Dillon right here. He said at one point the car was, quote, awful. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin is struggling with turns 3 and 4. He said that's his biggest issue right now. He said he just tried to make the outside work, and he's been able to make that work a couple of times. And that's taken a lot of other drivers take notice as well. And guess who's right behind him, Dave?
The nose of that 24, Marty, and that is young Chase Elliott. And Alan Gustafson's glad he has a young, fit driver behind the wheel. He said to run fast, you'll be working your butt off all day here. The guys who ran up front in April, they were on a Sunday cruise. They were working hard, Kelly.
Eric Jones has run as high as 2nd place in the race today. He said he remembered coming here for the first time in a truck race and never thought he'd like Texas. But it's been a really good place from 3 Xfinity wins now after the win last night and a truck run. Running in the top 10 here now. Just behind him is the 20 of Matt Kenseth. He's also looked really fast today. Remember, he also started from the rear, had a lot of ground to make up. Crew Chief Jason Ratcliffe told me, hey, if we could get into the top 15 before the end of stage 1, we'd be happy. He did much more than that, was in the top 10, 11th right now, Rick.
Thanks, Kelly. That was Through the Field, brought to you by Nationwide. And with Matt Kenseth, the story broke yesterday that he didn't have anything on the horizon for the 2018 season, and so made the comment that he's going to take a hiatus. He doesn't know if that's a week hiatus, a month hiatus, or potentially a career-ending stop to racing in NASCAR. So Kenseth still without a ride, and that uncertainty has made him make a decision to let everyone know, I won't be racing at the Daytona 500. I don't have a ride for the start of 2018. Out front, though, it's Kyle Larson here at Texas.
The Texans will probably tell you, don't mess with Texas. That's the unofficial state slogan. They also will remind you that everything is bigger in Texas. Feast your eyes on what's behind me. That's Big Hoss, the biggest HD TV in the world. Over 20,000 square foot of area, over 281 trillion colors. And as a TV addict myself, they tell me it's hurricane and tornado proof, which means if I can convince them, it'll be safe at home with me in Florida.
Just throw that on the back of your car and take it home with you, Otto.
Yeah, if they'll let me.
Out front, it's Kyle Larson. He has a 2.4 second lead right now over Kevin Harvick. That sounds big. As far as Harvick looked very good at the start of this run, and now all of a sudden, Larson is pulling away. Ryan Blaney running 3rd, Kurt Busch 4th, and Joey Logano in the 5th position.
Well, look at the car in front of Kyle Larson. We talked about the 48 of Jimmy Johnson, the decision by Chad Canals not to take a wave around, staying 2 laps down, trying to work on it, trying to make more speed out of the 48. Well, still nowhere near enough speed, and this right here could be basically the final blow, Jeff, unless one of these other playoff cars have an accident. Going 3 laps down, I'm not even sure there's a roadmap to recover from that.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson's going to have to be very disciplined if he can just keep this car on the bottom of the racetrack, make life very, very, very difficult for Kyle Larson. Remember, Jimmy Johnson's a 7-time winner here at Texas. Most of all drivers, and he's on the verge of going a lap down, and on the outside, Kyle Larson takes it.
Jeff, wait a second. not only is he a 7-time winner here, he's the most recent winner. He won here in April, and now he's 3 laps down to Kyle Larson.
Yeah, obviously they had a tough break. They had to pit on the green, but they have not had the speed all weekend. Things just have not come easy for this team this year. They ran poorly last week in Martinsville, a place where he's won the most races there as well, and they just do not have the speed.
Out in front, it's the 42 of Kyle Larson. Want to listen into spotter communication from this team.
Entry's a little bit loose, a little bit. My track bar's down 2 inches, which just helps a little bit for accident stuff. The good thing is I don't think it's hurting him too much because everybody else struggles to turn underneath people on exit. He's one of the only ones to get up to him and be able to still stay turning and make the pass.
So that was spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less. And when your spotter says he's one of the only ones who's able to turn up underneath the car after he passes him, that can't be good for the field.
No, and every driver, no driver is going to hardly say my car is perfect. So there's always a little bit of something you wish you could do a little bit better. But races are about managing and making your car better than everybody else. So they might not ever be as good as you want it, but if it's better than everybody else, that's good enough.
Again, very unique to the sport of NASCAR. The playoffs are underway, and 8 drivers are still in the playoffs, but that means that there are 32 other competitors on the racetrack that are fighting for the win, including Kyle Larson. So the playoff contenders, they're not on their own out on the track battling for position. They've got to fight against everybody else on the track, and 40 cars all wanting to get to victory lane. Marty.
Hey, Rick, we're about 10 laps from when everybody has to stop. So the question to Steve is, we saw Martin Truex Jr. come a little bit earlier than everybody else. I see the 78 guys scurrying around. Now, it's not an advantage tire-wise necessarily, but sometimes it's not about tires, is it, Steve? It's about where you come out on the racetrack, getting clean racetrack. But clearly pitting earlier for Truex helped on that first stop.
Well, coming to pit road does help because you get newer tires earlier, and that's the advantage. But what you just said about clear racetrack, that's the best. I mean, look at the temperature inside A.J. Allmendinger's car. It's 122 degrees. The drivers have had very little rest, very little breaks. So if you can get your driver a clean entrance to pit road and get him back on the racetrack, Jeff, and get him out there outside of traffic while he isn't being able to take laps off completely, he can at least maybe relax just a touch and try to save some energy for this long race.
Yeah, and as we ride along, I want to show you these black hoses. What these black hoses are, this Nakaduck on the right side window, that is bringing air into the race car. And then these black hoses are distributed into different places. So one of them is blowing to his seat, the other one's blowing to his feet. And that's really, in addition to the air going to A.J. Allmendinger's helmet, that's really the amount of cooling that he has inside this car.
And again, almost 123 degrees inside that car right now for A.J. Allmendinger, as well as all the other competitors out on the racetrack.
And Jeff, we're getting to that point with 33 to go. When we talk about time on pit road, 2 tires is only available if you don't need to take 18 gallons worth of fuel. And while the tank will be empty and you can put 18 gallons in it, another option, Jeff, is just take 2 tires and only put maybe 10 or 11 gallons worth of fuel in it, try to gain a little bit of time on the track, because while Kyle Larson right here is out to about a 4-second lead, when you look from about 6th to 16th, those cars are all very close to one another, so a little bit of time on pit road could save or make up a lot of positions on the racetrack.
We saw the picture of Big Hoss that was behind Otto. The back of Big Hoss has been lit for about last month with the numbers 88 on the back of Big Hoss. So at night you could see that. Well, that was signifying to everyone that Dale Earnhardt Jr. was making his last run here at Texas Motor Speedway, and it was a very momentous time in the media center when Eddie Gossage, the track president of GM, rode in on a horse and ended up giving a horse to a therapy area here just outside of the track area, as well as the number from atop the scoring pylon when Dale Jr. won his first Cup Series race, and Amy brought the stroller in for the youngest Earnhardts that they are expecting. So a lot of gifts going to Dale Earnhardt Jr. here on his last run. And you look at the Dallas skyline. I mean, 88 lit up on the building there. Very, very cool.
Yeah, they've done a lot of great things. Eddie Gossage goes out of his way with Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, now Dale Jr. So, they're very appreciative of, what Dale Jr. has done for this sport and here in Texas. He's always been a big sport. Of course, getting that first Cup win here means a lot to Dale Jr., but some great gifts there for him.
And very deserved. As Dale Jr. currently working his way around this track position. Again, up front, it's Kyle Larson in this long run again. 43 laps of green flag racing has put a few cars down, and Chris Buescher, the last car in the lead lap, running 20th. Marty.
And Rick, here comes the first of the lead lap cars, of the leaders coming down pit road. Joey Logano was running 6th when he came down pit road, having a fantastic run today. He said he's a little bit tight out for the corner, a little bit free into the corner. Going to be 4 Goodyear tires, air pressure adjustment, trying to fix up the 22 car. We'll see if everybody else follows suit and comes down pit road.
Denny Hamlin will. So Hamlin on pit road now, and the 22 gets a penalty. Too fast entering. Speed limit 45 miles per hour on pit road, Marty.
And Rick, I think it kind of forces everybody else's hand, because 2 laps ago, Mike Wheeler had told Denny Hamlin, hey, we're going to come in 5 laps. And then when he saw the 22 come down pit road, brought him down pit road. You see that wedge adjustment for Denny Hamlin, 4 fresh Goodyear tires. We'll see where he cycles out.
Just in front of the 3, we saw that Austin Dillon was also on pit road. Martin Truex Jr. headed your way, Marty.
And it has been a struggle for the 78 car. We told you, he said it was awful. He said, I'm just sideways behind other cars, but into 3, I'm on the splitter, meaning the car's too tight. So air pressure adjustments here for Cole Pern, waiting on the left side just a little bit for the 78, Kelly.
Kyle Larson's led 62 laps of this race. They're going to make a little chassis adjustment on the 42. He said he was just getting a little bit loose. Was using the track bar inside the cockpit. 4 tires, Dave.
Kevin Harvick was running in 2nd position, about 5 seconds behind leader Larson. He'll get another chassis adjustment along with his 4 tires and fuel. As for Ryan Blaney, he was running in the 3rd position. His car was on this run a little bit better off the corners, but he still wanted more. As for the 24 of Chase Elliott, his car was much freer this run. He got adjustments for that.
Brad Keselowski coming to his stall. He slides to a stop in his stall. The good news, back on the lead lap. The bad news is he got to about 20th and stopped. Keselowski said he lost all of his speed during that run. He said at times it was tight, at times it was loose. 4 Goodyear tires going on. Air pressure, trying to get that car to work better for Brad.
Logano serving his penalty. He just did his pass-through on pit road.
He's hoping by the time this race ends that 2017 will be over. Kind of goes into everything else that's gone with this team.
It has been that way for Joey Logano and the 22 team. A difficult 2017. Kenseth being scored as the race leader in the 20, and Earnhardt Jr. scored 2nd. They have yet to come to pit road. They were last on pit road on lap 88. Dave.
Tight in the center of the corner for the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse. Loose into the corner, and he's out of here.
A lot of 2-tire stops. The 24, the 3, the 1, and the 10 all doing just 2 tires on these most recent times down pit road.
Interesting call to do that as the end of this stage is coming up, that they would get 2 tires there in that situation. But maybe just to gather some stage points, get a little further up in the line with that strategy. Saw the 22 run very well on those 2 tires that last run.
How about the closing speed there of the 4 of Kevin Harvick as he got right up to the back bumper of Matt Kenseth.
I think the blueprint was laid by that 22 of Joey Logano, as you talked about, DJ. You know, at lap 88, he put 2 tires on. Now he's had a speeding penalty, which is going to hurt him. But you mentioned it. Those 2 tires held on great for Joey Logano. I think that was a little bit of the confidence that some of these crew chiefs needed to just put right sides on. And as we mentioned beforehand, they didn't need to take all of that fuel. That also opened the window.
And a little small thing right there. I noticed that Kevin Harvick was not nervous about getting on the outside and making a pass around a lap car. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a big deal because it's a lap car, but I'm starting to see some drivers gain some confidence in 3 and 4 especially to use the higher lane. Now, I'm not talking out by the wall, but in the middle of the racetrack, we're starting to see some drivers migrate toward that direction.
Yeah, and Jeff, and you think about that, if you're able to do that, not only is it going to make it a little bit easier, but it also can translate to even more speed to be able to carry through that corner.
Kenseth, Earnhardt Jr., Casey Kane, and Chris Buescher all running on the racetrack, still needing to come to pit road, but they're in the top 4. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Monster Energy. Unleash the beast. Toyota. Let's go places. And by Polaris Razor. Fuel your freedom. Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Texas Motor Speedway continuing. Only 14 laps to go in stage 2. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is out front. Reason being is he hasn't come to pit road yet. So probably getting pretty close, though. He was last on pit road on lap 88. 156 laps have been complete.
But look at Dale Jr. Look where he's running on the racetrack. He and Denny Hamlin are the 2 drivers that I've seen start to stretch the groove out a little bit. So Dale Jr. in 3 and 4, I mean, he's in the gray of the racetrack, the only one running that high.
I'm trying to do the math here, Steve, but he's closing in on 70 laps. Is that possible?
Well, it's obviously possible because he's running it. I mean, some of these cars reported they could get about 68 to 69 laps on the tank on fuel.
Yeah, I think he's out now.
Seems like he's out of gas or at least slowing to come to pit road. The question is, if he can make it right here with 13 to go, his teammate Casey Kane will take over the lead. He pitted 9 laps after his teammate. So we'll see if he can somehow try to make 4 more laps. He might make it to the finish. Kelly?
Yeah, they stretched it as long as they could for Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's put together a string of good finishes. You see the wrench go in. They're going to make a chassis adjustment. Dale said this car is awesome for the first few laps. Then it tends to just get looser and looser, although tight in the center. 4 Goodyear tires to Sunoco fuel as well for the 88.
Coming back off the pit road, as we mentioned, Casey Kane now the race leader. He's only 2 seconds in front of Kyle Larson. Larson has pitted already, and Casey Kane has not. He was on pit road on lap 97.
So I was a little curious to see Dale Earnhardt Jr. take 4 tires there. I thought the strategy would have been to have a very short pit stop, maybe gas only for the last 10 laps. That's what I would expect out of Casey Kane as well right here, Jeff. You know, he's out there trying to flip this strategy, gain some track position. So even if he has to pit with 4 or 5 to go, he perhaps could just take gas only, have a very short 3 or 4 second stop and try to save a lap.
There's only 16 cars on the lead lap. Right now, it's Brad Keselowski, who is the last car on the lead lap, running 16. See a battle for 5th on the right side of your screen. Chase Elliott just in front of Martin Truex Jr. The gap between Casey Kane and Kyle Larson is close to 1.1 seconds now for the lead. And again, Casey Kane more than likely in fuel conservation mode. Kyle Larson, Kevin Harvick, Blaney Elliott, and Martin Truex Jr. all trying to run in the top 5. Kelly.
And much like his teammate Casey Kane out there, as long as they could stretch it, they feel really good about their race car. In fact, crew chief Darren Grubb thought they might even have a top 5 car. You see right there, it's a fuel-only stop for the 5. So just as you guys talked, a quick stop to try to gain some track position.
Yeah, it looks like they actually put on some left side tires there, Kelly. And like you said, though, only 5 seconds, and that perhaps is going to, you know, it's not going to keep them on the lead lap. But as we see the leaders come around right here, he's going to be very close to them. Maybe even fortunate enough to stay in that free pass position. We'll have to see how he blends compared to that 43. Well, they might lose that spot, but you got to try, Jeff. Sometimes you have to just gamble from on top of the pit box. Darian Grubb was announced this week. He's going to crew chief for the 24 next year, which will be William Byron. Don't get caught up with the car numbers. There's a big swap of car numbers happening at Hendrick Motorsports. So William Byron will drive the 24 with Darian Grubb on top of the pit box, and that was Darian making that strategy call for Casey Kane.
So now back out front, it's Kyle Larson, Kevin Harvick, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, and Martin Truex Jr. the top 5. Again, Harvick, Blaney, Elliott, Truex Jr., Hamlin, Kyle Busch all in the playoffs in the round of 8, all inside the top 10 as only 7 laps to go in stage 2, Marty.
Closing in on this stage, Rick, and Denny Hamlin right now in the 6th position. Jeff, you've talked about how they've kind of moved the lineup, especially in 3 and 4. And sometimes, you know, behind the wheel, of course, Denny goes to the bottom right now. You've got to do that because that's the way your race car is handling. 3 and 4 is where Denny has been struggling the most. The car has been very free, so he thought, move up the racetrack, see what happens. He's been able to make that high line work, and I think that's good for everybody in the field if we can get more cars to go up into that second groove, Jeff.
Yeah, putting rubber down in that second groove will potentially create a better groove and more places to pass. Kelly.
It's going to be a quick one for Jimmy Johnson. The call was fuel only. They told him not to lock up his tires. Jimmy's saying his car darty at times.
Darty.
No fun. You can just tell from the very beginning that Jimmy Johnson didn't have much to work with. He fell back quickly here today, and it's just been something. It's been a difficult year, and now you bring it to a difficult racetrack. And you know, as others have progressed this year, this is a different racetrack than what he won on here back in April.
Yeah, and that phrase, darty, what that means is essentially if you're riding down the interstate with your car, you're holding the steering wheel straight, and your car is veering left, right. Imagine that at 200 miles an hour. The car darting around, just not tracking straight. That's what that means.
And incredible. He is 3 laps down right now, running in the 31st position, 46 points behind Brad Keselowski, who is currently inside the championship 4.
When you talk about points, Rick, Alan Gustafson in this 24 car trying to dig out of that hole from Martinsville. Well, when they came under green flag conditions at lap 144, Alan decided to take 2 tires only. Why does that matter? Well, he was running 9th, Jeff. Well, because of that fast pit work, he's up to the 4th position. That's 5 points. 3 laps from now, that'll be a 5-point gain for Chase Elliott. Marty?
How about the pit work for Paul Wolf and Brad Keselowski? You mentioned a moment ago, now he's on the plus side of things. Plus 10, as you see on the left-hand side of your screen, up in the 14th position. And if you watch for the last several laps, they've been one of the 5 fastest cars on the racetrack, so not out of the ball game yet. And I know, Steve, you love this, right? Crew chief driver working together. They had a rough first lap, but you know what? Brad Keselowski has a shot here, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, it's 500 miles. We talked about this at the Open. This is a marathon, Jeff. It's 500 miles for a reason. They don't all need to be 500 miles, but I love the fact that some still are. This is what the sport was built around, and sometimes you need a long race to kind of test the mental fortitude of both driver, crew chief, and the whole team.
Yeah, the sport's always been about different racetracks, different length races. You know, they're all different, and that's the true measure of who the best teams are.
They passed the halfway point of the race. Just 165 laps to go. Marty.
And guys, for Denny Hamlin in 6th, said he thinks he might have a loose wheel. Going to hang on for this final lap. He said something is definitely wrong with the 11, though. They're lucky the stage is coming to an end, Rick.
Kevin Harvick won stage number 1, and now coming up on the last and checkered flag for stage 2, it is Kyle Larson. Harvick's going to finish 2nd in this stage. Blaney, Truex Jr., Elliott, and Hamlin, all top 6 finishes for them in stage 2. That's Larson's 5th stage win. And that means that those 10 points for finishing 1st in this stage goes to a non-playoff driver. Kyle Larson. Pit road is open, and the crew's getting ready for their car to come in front of them, do the service. Out in front, Kyle Larson with that win in stage 2. He's still fighting to be in the top 5 in points at the end of the year. So all the points that he can gain will help him in that goal. Kelly.
Fighting to get that win on a 1.5-mile track for Kyle Larson. He said the balance in the 42 car really pretty good, just a little bit loose early and a little bit out of the track is how he put it towards the end of that run. The last time they gave him scuff tires, looks like sticker tires going on this time. It's going to be 4 and fuel, Marty. Dave, sorry.
It's all right, 9 valuable stage points for Kevin Harvick this time. The 4 is about a 10th off of the leader, he was told, so they'll make an adjustment for that chassis and air pressure. As for the 21 of Ryan Blaney, he was back a little further yet. He said on that run, it took off so much tighter, and then it got looser longer. They've adjusted for that.
And the race off pit road brought to you by NASCAR Heat 2 video game. A 2-tire stop for Martin Truex Jr. gains him 3 spots, and he's the first one off of pit road. Kevin Harvick, Eric Jones gaining 5 spots with a 2-tire change as well. Want to talk with stage 2 winner Kyle Larson. Let's dial him up on the radio.
Hey Kyle, Jeff Burton in the booth. You with us?
I got you.
Well, Kyle, I know you're in a difficult situation. You guys got knocked out of the playoffs, but still a lot to go and win races means a lot. How do you bring that enthusiasm and excitement that you need to win these races?
I don't know. I mean, I always go out to try and win, so nothing's different since we're not in the playoffs, but our Credit One Bank Chevy is extremely good today, and yesterday it was. So nice to be leading a lot of laps. Probably need to get a little bit better on the green flag cycles. Seems like the 4-car can close on me that last time, and especially the first cycle, so got to get better there, but I feel like on restarts and stuff we're pretty decent.
Well, Kyle, on behalf of all the fans, thanks for taking some time, bud. Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
And we thank NASCAR Heat 2 video game for that interview with stage 2 winner Kyle Larson. The restart when we come back. Stage 2 complete, and you look at the points earned today by the playoff drivers. Kevin Harvick, 19 points. Martin Truex Jr., 16, but down towards the bottom. Chase Elliott, only 6. Jimmy Johnson, Brad Keselowski, and Kyle Busch all missing out on getting stage points. Otto.
Yeah, Rick, NASCAR allowed me some access to their officiating trailer, and I was really amazed to see just how much technology is working to make sure that everybody follows the rules in pit road. And made me think a little bit of our own Jeff Burton and him winning here 20 years ago. Happy anniversary, Jeff. But back then, there were not this many computers looking to make sure everybody stayed on point while they were on pit road.
Yeah, the cameras that they have incorporated into pit road definitely making this very difficult for teams to try to cut corners here and there. Marty.
It was indeed a loose left rear wheel for Denny Hamlin and his team. And on the radio, he told Mike Wheeler, hey, guys, we got to be on our game on pit road. Take a listen.
We got to work on these guns or timing wheels. We cannot afford a loose wheel today.
And, Steve, you know how it is as a crew chief. He's absolutely right. You cannot have a mistake, especially this late in the race.
Well, you can't have a mistake, but you also can't have slow pit stops. So I understand what Denny was saying, and that's where I appreciate it. He wasn't blaming anyone. He was saying, Wheels, we had to work on our timing, work on our equipment. I'm not placing blame on anyone, but the simple fact is, Jeff, loose wheels and extra pit stop, if that happens in the last run of the race, that could be your playoff hopes.
Well, another opportunity to make mistakes is on restarts. We've seen how crazy these restarts are. And I think as this race evolves and goes on, they're going to become that much more important. Well, guess what? We're going to take a ride along with Denny Hamlin. He's restarting in 9th position, and it's going to be fun to ride along and see what he has to deal with on this restart.
Yeah, we've already seen just how crazy turns 1 and 2 are. It's so narrow, the bottom lane very slick, and if you make a mistake, there's just no room. We talk about the real estate. Well, somebody will be on his outside pinching him down, so this will be a restart through the new reconfigured Texas onboard with Denny Hamlin.
Kenseth's the leader right here. He stayed out. You see he moved up a little bit. That was just to be able to see. Very difficult to see ahead. You can see right now there's a car in the middle. He's thinking that's an opportunity. Got to get underneath this 41 car first.
I liked how he's patient back to the throttle to make sure he could leave on the bottom of the racetrack. The same right here in 1 and 2. Turned in a little early, a little shallow, made sure he got to the white line to stay underneath Kurt Busch. He wants to fill the bottom lane, Jeff.
And now underneath the 41 car, he knows he's going to have the air pulled off the side of his car. Now the 21 in front of him, the air coming off the front of his car as well. He's got to slow down a little more than normal. Keep it on the very bottom, try to accelerate as quickly as possible.
Well, this is what we talk about. This isn't about lap time. This is race craft. It's how well you can play offense and defense. That was a very well done by the 11 of Denny Hamlin to eliminate the 41. He kept the bottom. Now he's pretty clean. There's no one around him. Now it's about making lap time, trying to get through the corner, try to overtake the car in front of you.
Yeah, do not overdrive this entry. If you overdrive turn 1, you're in trouble. Just got to stay in your lane.
I'm impressed, and around goes the, looks like 34 in turn 1, and the caution will come out. I was just going to say, I was impressed with Matt Kenseth, able to stay out front on 20 lap tires as far as everyone else. He's been on those tires 20 laps longer. Landon Castle, though, in the 34, sideways in turn 1, and that brings the caution out for the 4th time today.
Yeah, might have been a little contact there. I tell you what was impressive about Kenseth is the 78 actually cleared him down the middle of 1-2. Looked like was going to take the lead, and Matt got a great run off of turn 2 and took the lead back.
So the caution comes out. Matt Kenseth was last on pit road at lap 155.
Right side damage, left rear maybe. Just got in the back of left rear.
You see right there actually on the straightaway, Clint Boyer got into the back of Landon Castle. Landon probably lifted and Clint wasn't prepared for it. Made contact.
It was almost like the 34 had a problem even going through the tri-oval there and slowed down so much that Boyer couldn't avoid it.
Dave.
Rick, the 14 of Boyer was in a hurry because he spent extra time on pit road that last caution period. They had a rear end gear leak, and they weren't sure whether they could fill it and continue. They think they fixed it for now, but Clinton had to start at the rear of the field and was ready to go. Then got into Landon.
That quick yellow also was a big break for cars that decided to not pit the last time. You look at the 43 of Almirola in 16th, Danica Patrick 17th, Suarez 18th, Logano, Buescher, Allmendinger, all decided to take the wave around. That quick yellow makes that strategy work perfectly. Now they can come to pit road and get some service.
The other thing that worked out for the 18th team, Kyle Busch, he gets the free pass. He is back on the lead lap. On that last restart, you had mentioned that the 20 of Matt Kenseth actually fell behind the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. Let's take a look.
Yeah, you can see he made kind of a wide entry in there to get himself a good angle, but Martin Truex really drove it in, went through the center, actually got a car length on him, couldn't get it turned down, and Matt Kenseth back in the gas hard, down the back straightaway, and actually clears the 78. He gets in here really good, jumps back in the gas, and now is going to take the lead back. That's a veteran move right there. Still showing somebody out there, hey, I can still do this.
Absolutely. Let's go back over to the Stock Car Smarts booth and Steve and Jeff.
Well, we talk about decisions during the race and how they could play out through the playoffs. I think nothing has been more clear today than perhaps Kyle Busch in the 18 and the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Both of these cars have had issues but chose to recover a different way. So on lap 67, the 48 has to pit under green flag conditions, Jeff. This cost the 48 obviously a lap. But then quickly right after that, lap 87, the yellow comes out. The 48 hits pit road while the 18 car decides to stay on the racetrack to take the wave by. Very important. That gives him a lap because, Jeff, right after that, the caution comes out.
The caution comes out, and now the 18 car gets the wave around, and now he's back in the lead lap. Went from 2 laps down to 1 lap, and now with this one, that he now is back in the lead lap with getting the free pass. So what he did a long time ago put him in position to get back in the lead lap right now.
That's right. They were both multiple laps down. Here we are 80, 90, 100 laps later. Jimmy Johnson still 3 laps down. The 18, though, Kelly, he has fought his way all the way back to be on the lead lap.
And crew chief Adam Stevens and Kyle Busch just having a conversation about their strategy. Adam saying, hey, we're just trying to manage our lap down situation. But he took the wave around. He's back on the lead lap. They chose to stop here, took 4 tires, and took the time to still work on a little bit of that damage on the right side of the vehicle. And Kyle having the discussion with Adam saying, okay, now that we're back on the lead lap, if this thing goes green, we might need to start short pitting a little bit.
And NASCAR doesn't like the lineup, so they're going to send him around one more time. You see 3 wide. Eric Almirola is out there saying, I think I'm supposed to be in this position, and somebody else is there. So now what to expect out of Matt Kenseth on the restart. We have Kenseth and Truex once again will be in the front row, and last time it was Kenseth on the front row and lost almost a car length to Martin Truex Jr. through the middle of turns 1 and 2, but then charged right back and stole the lead back as they went into 3.
I think one thing that the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. might have figured out, maybe there's a little more grip on the exit of that corner that he can be a little more aggressive, but Kenseth is going to be in the gas coming hard on the bottom. Marty.
Hey, Rick, there were 2 players in that lap 1 incident. Kelly just talked about Kyle Busch. The other one, Brad Keselowski. They have played it correctly, and look who's back in the top 10. Brad K sitting there in the 9th position, and they've had a pretty quick race car, so they might have a shot at maybe even winning this thing after having a flat tire on lap 1, Rick.
22 cars on the lead lap, and Brad Keselowski has fought his way back not only onto the lead lap but into the top 10.
Well, another thing, we talk about decisions. The 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. pitted under green flag right before the end of stage 2. I question putting on 4 tires, but Greg Ives absolutely made the right call. This is coming to the checkered flag of stage 2. Why does this pass matter? That was for the free pass, Jeff Burton. So that got the 88 back on the lead lap, currently running 13th. Small decisions. It's hard to show you all of them, but decisions like that might be the difference to get Dale Jr. a win back at the site of the track where he got his first ever career win at the Cup Series.
2x2 once again. They're all in line correctly. And green flag back in the air. Kenseth on the inside. Truex Jr. on the outside. Again, it looks as though Martin Truex Jr. has an advantage, but here comes the 20 of Kenseth on the inside.
Yeah, but you can see Truex be able to get back to the gas sooner than he did last time and turn his car down and take some air away from the front of that 20 car. Truex with a great restart there.
Chase Elliott up in that second groove as they go through 3 and 4 and come back out to the tri-oval. Ryan Blaney in the 21 making the move on the inside, trying to get by the 24.
A lot of crew chiefs are watching the battle at the front of the track too, Rick, because this is a mix. You have Truex Jr. on pretty fresh right side tires, Matt Kenseth on relatively old Ford tires, and Kevin Harvick behind them on brand new Ford tires. So this will tell you how important tires are as this race wears on.
148 laps to go, and Steve, we saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. try to go 70 laps, but we would expect 60 would be about the max for these guys.
Yeah, I really think they're outside of a one-stop window from here. I think they're going to have to try to find a way to break this up, but they're going to need a timely yellow for this to work. But everyone is thinking fuel, Rick, because we have seen track position be so important. We saw Joey Logano make it work as we see Brad Keselowski making a move on the 21. We saw Joey Logano work on 2 tires up front. Here it is, Matt Kenseth on old tires. So they're going to be thinking about fuel to try to get the correct strategy.
And how about Brad Keselowski? This team said going to Martinsville, they had to win Martinsville. It was a must-win because they did not think they had speed on the mile-and-a-half racetracks. Well, here he is battling for 5th position. I think they've overachieved today from their own expectations. They need to finish this thing off.
Hey, Steve, I was thinking back to what they reported that the 18 said that they might need to think about short pitting. Will some of these others think about cutting this up into 2 50-lap pit stops here if they look at this going green a long time and trying to gain track position that way?
Well, Dale, it all comes down to what position you're in, and it's very simple. Kyle Busch, he knows he's going to Miami to race for a championship. So short pitting, splitting this up is a great strategy to try to get back up front. You look at the other non-playoff cars, maybe Kenseth, Larson, Kurt Busch right here in the picture. They could do the exact same thing, but I'm not sure how Kevin Harvick, Keselowski, and Blaney are going to have the ability to be aggressive like that. An untimely caution could cost too many points. It's going to see what playoff-bound crew chiefs have the guts to gamble, Marty.
Hey, this run for Brad Keselowski is just so impressive. They've been able to rally here into the top 5 for that 2 car after having that flat early on. And they knew they struggled at mile-and-a-half racetracks. So what they did is borrow the setup from the 21 car, the car they just passed, their teammate Ryan Blaney. Paul Wolfe told me, listen, I know Brad sometimes doesn't like it, but we have to continually get better. We have to continually improve if we want to win a championship. So, DJ, I'm sure you've had this scenario before. You ever given your teammate your setup and then he passes you in the race? Can't make you very happy, does it?
Sometimes it doesn't, but you know that will come back around at some point in time, too. So you have to work together. We've always heard, and we heard a few weeks ago, Marty, you were there with Joe Gibbs at the Hall of Fame talking about the thing that makes his team so strong, the willingness of his drivers to all work and talk together about their setups and things that they do to be successful on the track.
All right, drivers and crew chiefs, help me explain some science here. The 21 lost spots there. He radioed in that the car was on the splitter and that it was tight, and he was told that sticker tires will be tighter. Now, yesterday, they scuffed a lot of these tires, so they had a heat cycle on them. But why are sticker tires, and this is a set of stickers, so why are they tighter, Jeff? Let's start with you.
Well, if it's on the splitter, it's tighter because of that. And why is it on the splitter? Because, you know, you see Ryan Blaney right now driving down the front straightaway. Well, he's going into turn 1. on a corner that has no banking. It has way less banking than 3 and 4, so the speed is less. So the car doesn't travel as much. But now as he goes down the back straightaway, he's going to drive into turn 3, a very fast corner, and now the car is going to try to travel because the forces are pushing the car into the racetrack, and now it's on the splitter. So you want the splitter near the ground, but not on the ground. The different ends of the racetrack make it get the ground in 3 and 4, but not be as low as you want it to in 1 and 2.
Compromise. It still gives me headaches. Compromise. No one likes compromise when it comes to race setup, Rick.
You want to see the fastest car get up front, win the race. Sometimes that's not going to happen. Martin Truex Jr., though, he's never won at Texas, but he's out front right now as we go NASCAR nonstop.